The best way to get better at programming is to practice. In this example, we're going to read a text file that has a bunch of numbers. We're going to assume that these numbers represent the steps that we might have gotten from a pedometer, and we're using to keep track of how many steps did we take in a month and how many did we do on average. So let's see how we're going to do this. Before we start, remember you can always download this file from the link provided in the description below. You can also pause this video to work on your own and then check your answer or follow along. All right, let's get started. So we're going to come over here and open our file up. It's going to be our very first thing. So we're going to say with open steps.txt, and we're specifying that we're opening this for reading as, and I'm going to call this steps in. Now I've used a couple different variable names across our examples. I'm just showing you that the variable name does not matter. We're going to need to do this over and over again, and we saw this in our previous example. We're also going to need to sum up these steps and keep track of how many days we have. So I'm going to set up a daily counter. So I'm going to specify a variable to keep track of what day we're working on. I'm going to call this counter, and we're going to start it at 0. The second thing that we're going to do is we need a running total in order to keep track of this. So we'll specify running total. That also going to start at 0 because, let's face it, before we read in anything, we don't have anything. Now we're going to use a loop to read through this. And we saw that in the previous example if you need to go back and look at it. So this all works exactly the same. We have to change the in file to steps in because our variable name changed. I'm going to have my day count is going to equal int line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that line of text, even though it's a number, it's still a text string. I'm going to pass it into the int function and convert it into an integer. So this is going to work very nicely for us. We're then going to say running total plus equals day count. And we're going to say counter plus equals 1. This is going to loop over and over and over again for however many lines is in that file. Now we've summed up our steps, we kept track of our counter, things like that, we need to print out our value. This is still inside of our with. And the reason it's inside of our with is notice that our counter and running total were both created inside the with. So that's where those variables have scope and are accessible. If we create them outside our with, then we wouldn't have to be inside our with to do this step. So we're just going to do a simple thing, print. You took a total of, we'll specify running total steps. So we just print this out, hey, this is how many you took. And then we can specify over here, print, that is an average of running total divided by counter. So I can come over here to my steps file. You can see I have my whole list in here. That works very good. I'm going to come here and click run. I took a total of 294,004 steps, averaging 8,300 steps a day. Now I had that 0.133333. I could obviously go in there and do a format command or one of the other ways I can format numbers to kind of clean that up, and probably would want to. Of course, that's not the only change I can make. So if you look at the go further, we also ask, hey, 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day is considered necessary for an active lifestyle. Could we modify this to print it out if it was good or not? And the answer is yes, we can. We can use an if statement. So I'm going to say message equals, I'm going to start off with blank. I'm going to have an if statement. If day count is less than 7,000, message is going to equal you need to take more steps. Else, message is going to equal good job on getting your steps in. With this, we're going to come down here, we're going to print day counter colon day count, the number of steps we took, and then MSG for message. So when we run this, you can notice that we can see here each day how many steps we took and if we need to take more steps or if we did a good job getting our steps in. So it was a simple little if statement, how we incorporated those different values in so we could specify and see and get a meaningful message. Only takes a couple extra lines of code. Now you might think, well, overall for the size of our project, that's a lot of lines of code for how small it really was. We kind of added about 30 to 50% more lines, and yes, you do. Usually the more lines of code we write, the more user-friendly something is, and this is just a good example of that. This is a lot more user-friendly. It's not perfect, but it's a good example of what we can do. So kind of keep those types of things in mind as you're developing your applications.